Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is our hand and dexterity exercise class. Today is week 2. So last week's recording from the class has been uploaded onto our YouTube channel, which is Parkinson Society BC, all in one word. If you are new today, you are, of course, welcome to have a look at the recordings from last class if you want to practice any of the hand and dexterity skills. So today's class is also recorded, and so that way it will be on the YouTube channel in about a week's time, hopefully before next week's class. Because it is a hand and dexterity class, we are going to be seated the entire class. And if you had a table in front of you that you want to use, that's great as well. So I've got a little table here that I'm going to use today for some of the activities that we're doing, which I will show you. So things you're going to need today is a towel. So I've got a tea towel, kitchen towel that I'm using. So a towel of some kind, ideally not a bath towel. You definitely don't want something that big, but something small. And then you're going to need a pillow or some kind of a small cushion that you can use today. You need a cup like this. So I've got a paper cup that I'm using. You can use a glass that you've got at home if you would like, but ideally no handles. A paper cup might be easier, but it's up to you. And then you're also going to need some pegs today. So I've got 5 pegs that I'm using that we're going to do with some of our hand activities in the end. So any kind of pegs, it could be one of those little wood ones. It could be a plastic one like this, something that you can use to clip. And then you're also going to need a writing sheet. So last class, I did mention that, so I'm using a normal line paper. So you can see if you ignore the black lines, it's a normal line paper. And what I've done is I've just made the margins bigger. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4 single lines into one big line. So I essentially made 4 lines into one line here. So I made the margins bigger. And I put little dashes in the middle of the margins here. So just one sheet is fine. We're going to be using this for some of our handwriting practice at the end. So hopefully you have that ready. So I'll say that again. We need a tea towel of some kind, a cushion of some kind, a paper cup or a cup just without handles, little pegs that you can use. Just 5 will be good. 4 or 5 is fine. And then your writing sheet, and we can get started. Okay, if you have any questions, you are welcome to type them in the chat box as we go along, or equally, you're welcome to raise your hand. There's a button at the bottom of your screen where you can click raise hand, and then that way you can have your microphone unmuted, and you are welcome to ask questions via voice as well if you prefer that. Okay, let's start. I'm just going to move back a little bit so you can see me. We're going to start with our warm-up. We're sitting down and we're going to start with our shoulder rolls, rolling them back in a gigantic circle, warming at those shoulders, making sure you're sitting at the front of your chair, nice and tall, ideally not slouched, and ideally in a chair without arms would be good. Okay, and then we're going to add in our elbows, so big elbow circles. Still sitting up nice and tall. And then we're going to do our whole arm, the entire arm circling back. If you've got shoulder issues and you can only go this low, that's okay too. Whatever works for you, but you're drawing these circles with the entire arm. Nicely done. And then we're going to reverse directions, other way. The entire arm. Big circles if you can. And then back to the elbow circles in the same direction. And then the shoulders coming forward. Big circles still. Good. And then we're going to bring our ear down to our shoulder like so. And then you're just going to roll the head down to the other side. So your other ear is going towards the other shoulder. And then same thing. So this downward kind of circle, the semicircle that you're doing. Nice and gentle. Try to sit up nice and tall if you can. Keep the shoulders away from the ears as you do this bottom semicircle here with your neck. And then when you're ready, we're going to move up into a full circle. Nice and gentle, just as much as you feel you're able to do today. And then we're going to reverse the directions, other way. Still sitting up nice and tall, I hope. Nobody is slouching or leaning against anything. Good, back to the middle. Okay, clasping those hands together like so, you're gonna draw a gigantic figure of 8 with your wrists here, with your fists, keeping them clasped together, drawing big figures of 8. So you're doing a bit of a rotation here with your wrists. Nicely done. And then we're going to stick out one of our arms. We're going to do our sensory warm-up here. So we're going to take our other hand, gentle pats all the way up the arm, waking up those nerve endings, drawing attention to the arm, all the way up your shoulder and all the way down. So nice light pats. We're not hitting the arm, right? We're not hurting ourselves. Nice light pats all the way up the shoulder. And then we're going to flip the hand over. Same thing on the other side, the inside of the arm this time, all the way down to those fingertips, the palms, all the way back up towards the shoulder. Nice, gentle pats. Doesn't have to be quick. You can go slower too if you like. Nicely done. Waking up those nerve endings, drawing our brain's attention to the arms. And then we're going to take our hand, we're going to do little squeezes all the way up the arm, squeezing every inch of the skin if you can, all the way up towards our shoulder, almost like you're giving yourself a bit of a massage. Nice light squeeze all the way down. Not forgetting about the thumb, the palm, the fingers. Nicely done. Okay, other side, other arm. We're going to start with our nice gentle pats all the way up the arm, all the way up towards the shoulder, and then all the way down towards the fingertips again. Nice light pats. We're not hitting too hard. We don't want to hurt ourselves. Just nice little pats to wake up the nerve endings before we get going with our exercises. And then flipping the arm over, same thing on the other side, inside of the arm this time, all the way down. Don't forget about the thumb, the palm, all the way back up. And then when you're ready, we're going to move on to our squeezes. So you can start either at the shoulders or the fingertips, squeezing the thumb, the palms, squeezing all the way up the arm. And all the way down. And rest. I'm going to come a little closer. And then we're going to warm up those hands. Squeeze your hands into fists. And then we're going to open them nice and wide, stretching out the fingers, opening the spaces between the fingers, stretching the skin, and squeezing again. Open all the way out. And again, squeeze and open. Squeeze and open. One more. Squeeze and open. Okay, and we're going to move that into our arms. We're going to squeeze, and then we're going to push and open as wide as you can, like you're pushing something heavy away from you. Then you're going to close the hands and grab and pull. Try that again. Big push, spread out those fingers nice and wide, and pull. Again, we're going for 6. Here we go. Push. Spread them out. Pull as hard as you can. Push. Pull. 4 more. Here we go. 4. And pull. 3. 2. Last 1. And rest. Okay. So hopefully you're a little warmer. I'm going to move the screen back a tiny bit here. We're going to move on to our main exercises. So I've got my elbows resting on my table here, just so that way I don't have to hold up my arms the entire time, but it's up to you. You are welcome to keep your arms up if you like, but I'm just going to rest my elbows on the table. So we're going to start with our finger thumb opposition exercise that we did last time. So we're going to open the fingers nice and wide as you can possibly go. Now, this is your baseline position. So you don't want to move your hand away from this position as much as you can, okay? So all your fingers are pointing upwards at the ceiling or to the walls in all the different directions. You've got space between all your fingers. From here, we're going to bring the tip of the index finger to the thumb once, like so, keeping all the other fingers where they are if you can. And then you're going to open back out, including the thumb. So don't leave the thumb here, open all the way back out. Then you're going to take your middle finger and you're going to tap that to your thumb 2 times, like this. 1, 2, open back up, all the way back up, flatten out the palm. Then the ring finger, tapping to the thumb 3 times, like this. 1, 2, 3, open back out. And then the little finger to the thumb 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way back out in reverse. Little finger to the thumb. 1, ring finger to the thumb, twice, middle finger to the thumb 3 times, keeping all the other fingers up. If you can, index finger to thumb 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you keep going. So we're tapping once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then you're reversing. So you can do this in your own time here. Hopefully you're joining me already. And I really want you to think about keeping those fingers nice and wide open. Don't let them curl in as you're, tapping. I don't want to see anyone do this. And make sure your thumb is not in the entire time. You want to keep it out. So there's no rush on this. You're not doing it as fast as you can. In fact, I want you to move as big as you can instead. So you can add speed to it, but only after you already have the technique down. I don't want you to go so fast that your fingers are closed in this position. They need to be in this open position every single time. Keep those fingers wide if you can. How are we doing with this one? Hopefully good. Keep going. So just like I mentioned last time, some of these exercises you'll probably find familiar. And what we're going to do for the next couple of classes is we're going to be building on the skills that we learned from session 1 and onwards. So because the hand and dexterity series this time around is a lot shorter than the ones we've had in the past. So we've only got 4 classes to work with. So I will be progressing relatively quickly. So don't worry if you feel like some of these skills are getting really hard, really fast, because the classes are recorded and you are always welcome to go back and review some of the previous exercises if you need a bit more time to practice. It's absolutely fine, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you as many things to work on as possible over the summer months if you want to try the recording again, because I will be off for some of July. So I want to make sure you've got as many exercises as possible. Nicely done. Keep those fingers open if you can, palms open. And let's relax for a second. You can open and close those hands, shake them out. You can rub them if they're feeling a little bit sore. Maybe your forearm's a little sore. Give yourself a little bit of a rest for a second. And then we're going to move on to our next exercise, which is the one that we probably all hate. We're going to have our hand nice and open, so as in the fingers are completely extended. And you're going to flatten your palm, so don't let yourself cup your hand in like so. You want to flatten your palm, squeezing all those fingers together, almost like you're pressing your hands up against the shop window and you're looking into the shop window. So it's completely flat. So from the side, you can see it's flat. I'm not doing this, flat, okay? So what we're going to do here with the fingers completely straight and squeezing together nice and flat, we're going to open the first web space like so, but noticing how nothing is cupped, everything is still flat. So almost like you're gliding your finger, your fingers against that glass window, okay? Back in, then the next space over, keeping all your fingers still squeezing together. It's almost like you're gliding those fingers against that glass window. Next space over, noticing that my fingers and hands are still nice and flat and all the fingers are squeezing together, except for the finger that I'm selectively choosing to open. And then we're going to reverse, same thing. So we go the little finger, and then the space between the middle and the ring finger, then the space between the index and the middle finger, then the first web space. So that's the movement. Now the pattern is going to go the same as what we did before. In the previous exercise, we are opening the first space once, the second space twice. I know I'm showing a little fast right now just to demonstrate. The next space 3 times, 1, 2, 3. The next space 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we reverse the little finger once. Next space over twice, next space over 3 times, and then 4 times. So feel free to do it slower and join me here when you're ready. You can do this at your own pace. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing. Just go at a speed that works for you. The most important thing is you're really thinking about the quality of the movement here. So making sure the fingers are not curling, the hands not cupping, we're not separating all the fingers like this, we're keeping them squeezing in. And now doing it freehand like this is relatively tough. So if you're finding that it's absolutely impossible for you to do this exercise, what I probably encourage you to do is to have your hands on a table and you can physically glide your hands against the table, which is easier, or you could actually press your hands up against an actual window too, if you want, because doing it freehand like this is a little tougher. So it's up to you. If you find that it's absolutely impossible to do this exercise freehand like so, you are welcome to press your hands up against the window or against the table, and have that sort of be supporting you to glide your hands along the surface. Your hands are probably feeling a little sore now. Okay, let's shake it out. You can open and close your fingers, shake it out. You can rub your hands if you like, your fingers, the forearms, whatever you like to just relax a little bit, and we're going to leave that exercise for the moment. Okay. Next one, we're going to use our tea towel. So I've got my tea towel here. Let me move back a tiny bit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hold on to the corner, so the corner piece of my tea towel here with one hand like so. And I'm going to hold it in such a way where my fingers are pointing down and the tea towel is also facing down. So it's kind of hanging with gravity. And what we're going to do here is keeping the palm facing the floor. We're going to use our fingers and we're going to scrunch up the towel into our hand, into as small of a ball as possible, using all the fingers if you can. And then when you can't scrunch up any more and it's as small as you can possibly make it, what you're going to do here is you're going to throw it in the air, catch it, and then try to fidget your way back towards a corner. And you restart the exercise of scrunching it up. Now, really important, when you're scrunching this up, you're keeping your palm facing the floor and your fingers facing down. We are not doing this, right? We're not doing this throw and catch cheating movement with the towel coming into the hand. You want it to be draping down so that it's a little harder. And you're scrunching that towel all the way into your hand. You can tell if you're using a bath towel, this is probably pretty impossible to do because it's just too thick. So you want a small towel. And then when you can't scrunch up anymore, you're throwing, catching, and then fidgeting your way back to a corner piece again. Now, if this is really, really tough for you to do freehand, again, you're welcome to use, your shirt, your hip, and lean against something to then scrunch, or you can lean against the table here like this to scrunch if you needed to. That's fine as well. But if you can do it freehand, even better, because that is the most challenging version. But of course, by all means, if this is too impossible to do and you're just not getting anywhere with the scrunch, you're of course welcome to hold it against your shirt or your legs or whatever surface you've got to help you with this exercise. When you can't scrunch anymore, you're going to throw, catch, fidget your way back to that corner piece again. Okay, so we're doing the same hand, right? You're throwing and catching with the same hand. Hopefully you've already started. Try to get all the fingers involved. Doesn't have to be fast. Take your time if you need. How are we doing on this one? Hopefully good. A quiet chat box probably means you're either asleep or you're concentrating on the exercise. So remember, if you feel like your hand is getting really sore, you are welcome to take a break. You don't have to do this continuously. You are welcome to stretch it out, shake your hand out, have a little bit of a break, and then come right back in if you can. I know we're flying through these exercises relatively quickly, but again, it's because we've got quite a number of them to get through, and I want to give you as many of these exercise ideas as possible, since the series this time around is only 4 weeks long, and today's already week 2. So I want to progress as much as we can. But don't worry if you feel like these exercises are too challenging or we're progressing a little too quickly, because you can have a look at the YouTube video on our YouTube channel and practice some of these skills. Let's do one more on the same side you're currently doing, and then we're going to switch hands. Good. Shake out your arms, shake out your hands. And then we're going to move on to the next hand, still holding onto that corner piece, having the towel hanging down, your fingers and palms also hanging down, and then you're going to scrunch up that fabric into your hand. Remember, no cheating. We're not doing this, right? We're not doing this catch pattern. We're keeping our towel hanging down, or we're kind of scrunching it upwards. And then when you can't go anymore, you're going to throw and catch with the same hand, and then try to fidget your way back towards a corner piece. And then we repeat. Remember, this is not a race. You don't have to go as fast as you can. Just try to work on getting all those fingers opening and closing to scrunch the fabric. Nicely done, everybody. Remember, if you need a break, you are welcome to take a break. If your hand's getting too sore or your arm's getting too sore and you just need to stretch it out or shake it out, absolutely fine. Try to open the hands more, the fingers more as you're scrunching up the scarf. So that way we don't just end up in this kind of closed pattern, but we want to open in order to then scrunch. Let's do one more on this hand and then we can move on to the next exercise. Okay, shake out the hand. When you finish that one, shake it out. And I'm just going to show you the next one. So keep hold of your towel. We're still using it. Just going to move this down. So I've got my table here. I just folded my towel across, so you can do that as well. We're going to revisit our rolling exercise that we did last time. So we have the towel on a flat surface and we start at the very edge, and we're going to start by rolling the towel using your fingers, getting all the corners tucked in. And then you're going to keep going and you're trying to make this roll as small as possible so it's not too loose. And you're going all the way along the surface. Let me just do it real quick for a second so then you can see the whole pattern. So don't do it as fast as what I'm doing, but you're essentially rolling. Make sure you're getting all the edges all the way to the very end of the towel. Just doing it quick because I want to show you what we're doing here. And then when you get to the end, you're going to lay your hands flat and then you're going to roll that towel out again. So try to keep your hand as flat as you can and you're rolling it out. Now, that's option one, okay? That's what we did last time. Today, you have the option to progress it into a freehand roll like this. You're holding on to the edges of the towel and then you're going to keep it dangling down like this and you're going to roll with your fingers. Try to get the towel rolling all the way down without it touching anything. So you're not rolling against your shirt. You're keeping it freehand if you can. I'm just doing it real quick for a second so you can see. Rolling it all the way down like so. Of course, when you're doing it, please don't do it this fast unless you want to. Okay, and then when you get to the end, you're going to hold on to the roll and you're going to, I'm using my thumb to kind of feed the fabric down. So you're then going to unroll it by walking those fingers at the front and moving the thumb down like that. And you're going to unroll that fabric and then you restart again. So you can either do it freehand like this, or you can lay it on the table and roll it along the table. It's entirely up to you, but please join me here and take your time with this. I know this one's a little tough to do freehand, but see what you can do. Try to get all the roll pieces in. Try not to make the roll too loose. And you're using your fingers. So all of your fingers have to be involved in this. And just like we mentioned last time, your hand dexterity is not just about your ability to open and close your hand or, you know, lift heavy objects per se, but it's your ability to move fingers, all the fingers individually and separately from each other. And your ability to form different shapes with your hand to fit whatever object it is that you're holding on to and to fit whatever action you're trying to do. So our ability for the fingers to be agile is quite important for hand dexterity. So it's not just about, you know, opening and closing our hands, but it's about your ability to do different types of activity with the hands and the fingers and being able to separate the fingers into different shapes and forms and directions to get this kind of agility in your hands and fingers for everyday hand dexterity type of tasks. So I know I'm doing this quite fast, but please feel free to do it slower. I'm just turning around so you can see the thumbs coming down, the fingers walking up the roll. So all the fingers are involved here. If your arms are sore, you're welcome to relax for a second or put the towel onto the table if it's too difficult this way. It's entirely up to you, and it does not need to be fast. Please feel free to do this slower. You do not have to match anyone's speed. And remember, if you feel like the progressions are too quick, don't panic. It's okay. We are doing it quite quickly, I am aware. But you are, of course, welcome to look at the YouTube video again and practice these skills and progress a little slower. Absolutely fine. But because of the time limits of the 4 classes, I'm trying to get as much in as possible. So finish the roll or the unroll wherever you are, and then we will move on to the next one. When you are done, take your time. When you are done, put the towel away. And then we are going to grab our cup. Okay. So when you're done, you're going to grab your cup. There's nothing in the cup. I'm just using a normal paper cup. You can use anything you want at home, but ideally no handles because it's much easier to hold on to this way. So we're going to do our cup flipping like we did last time. You're going to hold on to the cup. So you're grasping the cup like so. And then from here, you're going to lift and you're going to flip it down. Okay, flipping it down. Then you're going to lift and flip it back up. Then you're going to lift and flip it outwards, down. Lift, flip it back up. Okay, so the movement, it's like this. You're flipping it inside down, up, flipping it outside down. So you're twisting a little bit. Your body will move a little bit, and that's fine. We're practicing this kind of rotation, and it also comes from a little bit from the shoulder as well. But of course, if your arm is completely straight, then it's more tough. But if you bend your elbow, you'll get a little bit more room. Okay, so you're holding onto the cup, you're flipping it down, flipping it back up. Then you're flipping it outwards, down, and back up. Okay? So it's a little different to what we did last time, where we sort of alternated and we did one skill at a time. Today we are adding both together, so both the inwards and the outwards movement together. Remember to bend the elbows, because if you have the arm completely straight, it's going to be a lot harder on the shoulder. How are we doing with this one? Hopefully good. And of course, it doesn't have to be the speed that I'm doing. Feel free to go at your own pace. Nicely done. See if you can do 2 more on this side, and then we're going to switch sides. So in your own time, see if you can do 2 more. And then you can shake out that hand, and you're going to switch sides. Exactly the same on the other arm. Keep the elbow bent if you can. You're flipping it down, and then flipping it outwards. So again, it doesn't have to be the speed. You are welcome to do a slower speed if that works better for you. It doesn't really matter, but you're essentially getting this kind of rotation movement happening in the forearm, and you'll feel a little bit of that movement in your shoulder as well. How are we doing with this one? Hopefully good. The cup is empty, so it's light. 2 more in your own time on this side, and then we're going to move on to the next one. Okay. Right, so when you are finished, we are grabbing our pegs. So you can see here, I've got 5 pegs. This one's a black one, so you might not be able to see it against the table, but I've got 5 pegs here. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to place the cup down. And I'm going to start with one hand first. You're going to take one hand. Let me move this back this way. I'm going to take one hand. And you are going to grab the peg. And you're going to open the peg. And you're going to clip it onto the edge of the cup. So you can hold on to the cup if you like, if it's moving around quite a bit. And then you do the same thing on the other pegs. And you're going to clip it onto the edge of the cup, and you're kind of making a ring. Now, important thing is when you're clipping it, we are not turning the cup to clip it to the same spot every time, right? We're keeping the cup firm where it is. We're not turning it, and we're just going to clip it to the rim. Okay, so then you make your way around. You are not turning the cup because otherwise you're clipping onto the same spot every time. And I want you to practice changing your hand grip in order to get the peg onto the rim of the cup in the different kind of formation. So clip onto the edge of the cup, clip onto the edge of the cup. And then once you've got all of your pegs on, you're going to unclip them in any order you like. It doesn't have to be a particular order. Unclipping like so. Doesn't have to be fast. Feel free to go slower and down. And you're going to try the same thing. And when you're clipping, you're going to try not to hit all the rims before you clip it on. You're going to try to be very distinct with where you're going, and you're landing in one go. And we're trying not to move around too much. And for now, because this is the first time we're doing the pegs, you're not really going to worry about what fingers are, holding onto the peg per se. Just use all of them, or a few, whatever feels comfortable for you. Doesn't really matter at this point. We're just going to practice clipping the pegs onto the cup. And then when you're done, again, you are unclipping all of them. Doesn't have to be fast, but I want you to try to be very distinct with where you're landing with your pegs. You're going to try to do everything in one go. Remember not to turn the cup, right? Because we want to keep the cup where it is, so that way you can put the pegs on in one in sort of that circle formation. And we're not just going to turn the cup and then put the peg on the same placement every time. Of course, depending on the type of peg you have, the level of difficulty will depend, because if you have pegs with plastic or springs that might be a little stiffer, it will be a little bit harder for you because there will be more resistance. Whereas if you get the lighter wood ones that don't have a lot of spring in them, it might be easier. But that's okay. We're just getting used to moving the pegs and putting them onto the cup formation. So wherever you are, either undo your pegs or peg everything on, and then we're going to move on to the other hand. Okay, so when you're ready, we're going to do the same thing with the other hand now. Putting it onto the rim, and you'll probably find one hand is more difficult than the other. And that's okay. Once you got all the pegs on, same thing as before, undoing the pegs, not in any particular order, just undo all the pegs. And the point of this is we're trying to just use any fingers you like, all the fingers if you want, just to get used to kind of changing shapes with our hand and orientation with the hand. While we've got a grip on it, we're changing our hand in different orientations without losing that grip. Because remember, part of hand dexterity is being able to conform the shape of your hand and fingers around whatever object it is that you're holding on to, and being able to maintain that kind of conformation, that shape of your hand, and move it in different directions in order to actually get a functional sort of movement in the hand. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a cup that you're clipping onto either. We're using a cup because it's easier and it's something that most people will have at home. Whereas, of course, you're welcome to clip the pegs onto a string. The string could be hanging, the string could be, up on a line. It could be all sorts of things that you're trying to clip your pegs on. But for the purpose of this, we're just using a cup because it's a little bit easier to see, and the material everyone tends to have at home. Okay, let's put that away. You can shake out your hands and we'll put those pegs away. We're going to grab our cushion now. This is our last exercise before we do our handwriting practice. So we're going to grab our cushion and we're going to do our long hand grip like last time. Do you remember last time we held on to the corner, the bottom corner of the pillow, and we have all of our fingers together and the thumb is at the back, and essentially the hand is long like that. So we're not going like this, we're stretching out the fingers. The fingers are long, we're kind of doing this sort of grip. Okay. So last time we did this where we went on to the top corners and then the bottom corner. So almost like imagine a crab. That's the kind of grip you're aiming for. So we went to the top and then to the bottom. You can either stay here with grabbing hold of the top and then the bottom, or if you like, you can open both hands and grab hold of the top of the cushion as it falls. So so pretend this hand is here. So if I go like this, if I let go with both hands, the pillow is going to fall because of gravity, and I'm going to grab hold of it at the top, still in that long hand grip. No one is going like this, right? So long finger grip, set that kind of, that pincer sort of grip. Except pincer with the entire hand instead of like this. So you don't have to do this version with both hands open. You are welcome to stay with this like that if you like. Okay, it's up to you. Try to keep the fingers long, so your thumb is long, so you're going like this. We're not doing this, right? See if you can do 5 of these on your own, and then we're going to move on to our handwriting practice for the last few minutes. Time is going by so fast. I do apologize about flying through these exercises super quickly. There's a lot to get done in the hour, and I want to make sure I give you as many exercises to work on as possible. The summer of hand dexterity training. I've lost count, too much talking. I think I got 2 more. Okay, when you're finished, put that cushion away, shake out your hands. And now we are moving on to our handwriting practice. So I'm going to do my best to write upside down so you can see. Okay, so we got our lined pieces of paper. I put 4 lines. I'll show you down here. I put 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4 as one giant line to work on a handwriting practice. I'm going to use a marker because that way it's easier for you to see. Actually, let me use a different color. So you don't have to use a marker. You can, of course, use a pencil or pen or whatever you've got at home. But I'm going to use a different color marker because I want you to be able to see this, okay? So your job here, as we're writing today, is you're going to hit the top and the bottom margin every time. So let me show you on this one, actually, because you're closer to here. So the top and bottom margin of the line that you've drawn, that's what you're going to hit every time. That's your target, okay? So You're going to start by writing capital letters. So you're going to go from A to Z. You're going to go with a capital letter. Apologies if this looks horrible. I'm trying to write backwards. You're doing capital A. See how I touch the top and margin, top and bottom margin, and the middle. And then follow that with a small letter A. Noticing that I'm still touching the top and bottom margin. So because it's a small letter, the top margin is the middle dash line. The bottom margin is still the bottom margin, okay? And then I'm gonna move on to B, same thing. Make sure you're hitting the top and bottom margin every time. So big letter followed by small letter, then big letter again. And this is not about speed, so please don't do this as fast as you can. I want you to work on the margin. The margin is what you're aiming for. Because when you're doing your handwriting practice, if you're finding that your handwriting is becoming a little line and you're scribbling and it's becoming just one single line that you can't really read, I want you to expand that a little bit and aim for margins instead, because part of the handwriting practice where you end up having just one line is because of your bradykinesia kicking in, where you're writing so quickly that the quicker you go, the smaller the amplitude becomes until it becomes one single line. So having this kind of practice where you can go to the top and bottom margin is actually quite useful, because then you have a physical target to aim towards. I think I drew that D backwards. Oh, no, that's okay. Because then you have a physical target to aim towards, and it's sort of like amplitude training, if you will. So similar to other types of exercise you do for your entire body for Parkinson's, where we try to move as big as we can, and we do amplitude training. Same thing when you're doing your handwriting, you're aiming for this amplitude training as well, where you're aiming for that top and bottom margin, hence why we made the margins bigger. And as you get better, you can make the margin smaller and smaller and smaller until you actually do that single line. So for that reason, it's really helpful when you're doing writing is to write on lined pieces of paper, because then you can use that top and bottom margin as a bit of a physical target for you to make sure your letters are always going to be big and not going to be that small line that you get. So aim for that margin. And as you get better, you can, of course, write a little faster, but still aiming for that top and bottom margin every time. I think I just did that end backwards, but that's okay. It's hard writing upside down. Aim for the margin, top and bottom margin. So remember, take your time. When you get better at this amplitude training where you can hit the top and bottom margin, then you can write a little bit faster. Oh, my J is backwards. Oh yeah, it is. But you get the idea. I think my Q is probably going to end up being backwards too. That's okay. You get the idea. So it's a bit of a challenge writing upside down. So go all the way to Z. Okay, when you get to Z, I think, which is also backwards, but that's okay. You're gonna then restart again with your letter A all the way until you finish the entire page. Remember, you're aiming for the margins, amplitude training. Remember, you don't have to rush. Take your time. You're welcome to go faster once you've got this down. Try to always hit the margins every time. Write bigger than you think, because your movements will always be a little smaller than you think. I have to think about this cue for a second to write it backwards. I think my Z might be backwards. Okay, so you go all the way to the end until you fill up the entire page. Doesn't matter if you don't get through the entire alphabet. When you get to the end, you might have done one set of the alphabet or two sets. Okay, when you're done, that's it. You can put that piece of paper away. So for next time, I want you to prepare margins again on another blank piece of line paper, but this time we're making the margins smaller. So we are going to, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 lines in one margin, we're going to bring that down to 2 lines. So we're going to do 2 lines of margin for next time. Make sense? Okay, well, let's shake out our hands. We'll put that away. Shake out our hands, open and close a few times. Let's do a quick stretch. We're going to bring the palms of our hands together. Bring them down by your chest. Bring your elbows out to the sides. You're stretching your wrists. You should be able to feel the underside of your wrist stretching. Shoulders away from the ears. And then we're going to flip over onto the other side, back of the palm, matching each other. And then you're lifting it up, elbows dropping down to stretch the back side here of the forearm and the wrist. Okay, and then we're going to go for the hand here. So rather than the wrist stretching, because we've just done that, we're going to do the knuckle part of the hand. So we're stretching those fingers back like so. And then we're stretching the other side forward like so. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So not the wrist, but we're going for the knuckle side. So just the fingers stretching forward like so. Then stretching backwards like so. Nicely done. Okay, and stretch it out. Nicely done. That's it. Okay, well, any questions, let me know. You are welcome to drop us an email if you like. I'll just put our email in the chat box here. And you're welcome to go onto our YouTube channel, which I will write here, Parkinson Society, BC. So if you go on YouTube and you search Parkinson Society BC, all in one word, it'll come up. And the recording from last week's class has already been uploaded, so you are welcome to have a look at that. And today's recording will also be uploaded sometime next week. Okay, so same materials for next week as we had this week. The only difference is your writing margins, you're going for 2 instead of 4. So instead of 4 lines, you're doing 2 lines, drawing your margins. So we make the margins a little smaller next time. Okay, wonderful. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the class, and hopefully the progressions weren't too quick for you, but of course you are welcome to redo the class via the recordings if you need more practice. Great. Okay, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy, and I will see you here again next week. Thank you. Bye. You're welcome, everybody. Thank you.